My name is Christine Hill, and I'm a member of the congregation at St Nick's Church in Liverpool. In this Easter reflection, I'm going to talk about my love of plants and gardening and how seeking solace in nature has helped to sustain me during the COVID lockdown. I also want to share a bit about how my interest in gardening has enabled me to reflect on my growing Christian faith during this difficult time. Gardening's always been an important part of my life, and my interest in it was actively encouraged by my parents, and especially my mum. Growing up in Liverpool in the 1980s, Friday night was sacrosanct for the viewing of Gardener's World, and woe betide you if you dared to talk over the advice proffered by its then presenter Jeff Hamilton, as he dispensed his pearls of gardening wisdom at Barnsdale, on everything from pruning your roses to making hyper-tufa troughs or painting your garden fencing blue. Fast forward 30 years, and Friday night remains Gardener's World night in my own home. When it's on, I'll text my mum, who lives around the corner, and my sister, who lives in York, to chat about the week's episode. As for us, gardening is a shared interest, which binds us together as a family. I also look forward to hearing whatever jobs for the weekend Monty advises his audience to follow this week, and look with relief at my husband, as we don't have to prune our non-existent grapevines. Grapevines or not, I've always been grateful for my love of gardening and the access that I have to it in the form of my own patio and the wider communal gardens in the flats where I live. And this has never been thrown into sharper relief for me than during the COVID lockdown. I work in housing for my day job, and I am acutely aware that not everybody is able to access quality outdoor space. I am also aware of the social inequalities which can result as a consequence of this. Those living in converted houses of multiple occupation, those in overcrowded accommodation, flats with no access to balconies or patios, those who are homeless or in temporary B&B accommodation are not far from my thoughts most days, and especially not in this current climate. This coming week will see the centenary mark of Welwyn Garden, the second garden city developed in England by the urban pioneer and planner Ebenezer Howard. He attempted to rethink the way that we develop communities, putting green space at the very heart of their physical construction. The popularity of the garden city as a model has waxed and waned, and in the intervening 100 years, and there's current initiative to promote garden villages. But with land prices as high as they are and a development model based on planning gain, it's easy to understand from a commercial perspective why this more land-hungry garden city model may not be considered sustainable in all circumstances. However, for my own part, I personally have never been so grateful to live in a leafy green suburb. The 2016 King's Fund report on gardens and health, which was sponsored by the brilliant National Garden Scheme initiative, reported on the growing evidence base to support the links between green space, gardens, gardening, and health. The mental health benefits of gardening have been evidenced to reduce depression and anxiety, and the NHS is actively using gardening as part of its social prescribing for both therapeutic and social purposes. For my own part, I've been taking advantage of not having to commute to work to have a daily walk. And during this time, I've had a lot of time to reflect on the importance of green spaces in placemaking in both the public and private and urban and suburban realms, and simply to enjoy the creativity and passion for gardening that many of my neighbours clearly demonstrate via the medium of their front gardens. I have documented this on my Twitter feed, where without trying to identify actual properties, I've picked out examples of common plants and flowers that are growing all around South Liverpool at the moment, and which in the normal course of our busy lives, we might not have time to appreciate. I'm no gardening expert, and no doubt there are more botanically interesting flowers worthy of documenting, and certainly better photographers already on gardening Twitter. But at a time of great uncertainty for us all, I have strongly felt the need to mark this unsettling period of time by sharing a glimpse of the beautiful gardens and plants that I am able to enjoy on my walks. In doing so, I have been reaffirming myself and trying to root myself in the midst of all this uncertainty by saying, I am still here. At the same time, I hope that the posts might also have brought some solace in nature to those who have seen them. The actress Audrey Hepburn said that to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow, and now more than ever, we need to hold on to the hope of tomorrow. In addition to my daily walks, I have been using the Church of England phone apps, LiveLend and Easter Pilgrim, to reflect on my own faith during lockdown. And one of the Bible readings that I have found particularly helpful includes a gardening metaphor. In chapter 15 of John's Gospel, Jesus tells us that he is the true vine and that God cuts off every branch that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be ever more fruitful. When you're pruning something, it's hard to imagine that in cutting something back, this will stimulate new life. For those like me who are lucky enough to be able to work from home at the moment, lockdown and the retrenching of my daily routine has provided an unexpected opportunity for me to reflect on what really is important to me in life, to cut back and let go of those things which consume my energies, such as anxiety over not getting a job I recently applied for, or worrying about what people might think about me if I start to post things about my faith on my Twitter feed when they might normally expect to encounter pictures of housing developments, or how god-awful my roots and my double chin must look right now as I talk to camera. These branches literally bear no fruit. Instead, by cutting them back, or at least trying to, this has enabled me to focus on new growth and to reflect on and pray for the selfless acts of generosity of our NHS workers, our social care workers, our supermarket workers, our delivery drivers, our blue light workers, our local authority workers, and even our valiant plantsmen and women trying to keep their independent nursery businesses alive while keeping gardeners and their gardens supplied with plants. In a concluding reflection, the late journalist Deborah Orr, facing a terminal cancer diagnosis last year, posted on her own Twitter feed that she had ordered a sack of 200 tulip bulbs, knowing full well it was highly unlikely she would ever see them bloom. In these difficult and dark times, those of us who are able need to be as generous as Deborah Orr in not giving up on believing in tomorrow, even if there is a very real risk that we or those we love may not live to see that tomorrow. Through acts of kindness and love, through cutting back of dead wood that is holding us back, through planting gardens, whether that's a glorious estate garden, a window box, or seedlings on a windowsill, we give hope for tomorrow to our cities and suburbs, our communities and neighbours, and our families and friends. Thank you for watching and listening.